Brett, and welcome to another episode of Know Your Role. Today we're going to be looking at what is inside the box for Stars of Akarios. This is published by Oomm Games with the lead designer of Brendan McCaskell. This was one of those Kickstarters that I've been looking forward to for a long time. It is a campaign game. A lot of people kind of describe it as Gloomhaven in space. We'll see. This video is a little bit different than one of my previous unboxing videos. I've already unboxed this one, but I wanted to show kind of a what's in the box type of video for this. I think it's going to be very, very interesting, so let's go ahead and check it out. So here's the box for Stars of Akarios. This is actually a pretty heavy box considering its size, which usually means a significant amount of content. So let's open it up. Again, I've already kind of gone through this and sorted it out. This is more just of a what's in the box type of video. So on top, it's just a poster. It's the galactic map of the storyline for the Stars of Akarios. It's a nice, decent-sized poster. I don't know if I'll get it framed or not, but it kind of looks nice. Then we have the rule book. I've been looking through the rules. The rules are actually nicely laid out. There's some good graphics to show various things. It shows nice layouts and everything. As looking through the rules, there are lots of things that are relative to other games. Again, Gloomhaven and Tainted Grail are the ones that I've seen the most. Things that are very similar, but not exact. And, you know, board games are an iterative process. There's no reason why you can't take an idea from another game and improve on it. So, and of course it's got the quick reference on the back. That's always a good thing for good instruction manuals. So on the top you have 4 player trays. The trays here are actually made by Game Trayz. They are one of the best companies out there in terms of making trays that fit well together in the box and then also are able to hold all the various bits. So each tray has a little pilot card and a ship card. I'll give you the details for those particular pilots and ships. A modifier deck. This is where it becomes very similar to Gloomhaven. Every time you make an attack, you have to draw one of these modifier cards. And, you know, this one would be, oh, well, it's just whatever the base attack is. This is a +1. This is a -1. Stuff like that. Now, what's different from Gloomhaven is all of the dice. So, this is a dice-driven game. Attacks, stress, movement, wild. The dice are very nicely made. I remember when I was looking at the Kickstarter runs, they actually had a problem with the first load of dice and they looked terrible. So these were actually a very good improvement, so I'm very thankful that they decided to make the dice better. And then of course you've got your character miniature. Detail on these are pretty nice. You know, pretty standard for a miniature about this size. And then each ship also comes with a little standee. The standees are nice because they have molded into them little arrows indicating where the front of the ship is. And it also has a little hexagon place here. From what I understand of the rules, you either put your pilot icon there or you put the number of the particular enemy ship there. That way you have solid verification of what the enemies or pilots are, and then it just sort of snaps on like that. You've got your little pilot ship. The ship designs are interesting. They have decent detail on them. Maybe something that is worth painting. Don't know. But anyway, you have 4 of these character little character pods, I guess, little cases, which is nice because then, you know, when you're actually playing through the game, you can put your character sheets and stuff in there as well to keep everything nice and tidy. And then it's just like, oh yeah, you're playing this character, here's your whole box, which is good. So again, we got 4 of them. There's another one. There's a third. And a 4th. Now the big one in the middle here, so you have your individual pilots, but then you have the Sparrow. The Sparrow is your ship that is, you know, it's your group ship. So it's designed to hold various things. And primarily it is also your tracker. So it tracks the number of rounds that you've played, it tracks overall general supply, and then it does have a health bar itself. Obviously you don't want the Sparrow to be destroyed, otherwise it's campaign over. This dice, I'm not entirely sure what it's used for yet. I haven't gotten to that part of the rules, but there's 1 through 6 on there. The Sparrow card does pop up. There's nothing on the back side, but they did put a little bit of detail on there, which is nice. And then this also holds all the various cubes. The cubes are used for all the various tracking across the stuff. Not only is there the cubes that need to go here on the Sparrow board, but then there are cubes on other boards as well. And then you have 2 decks in here. The Sparrow deck, which gives upgraded bits and bobs for the Sparrow itself. And then the Trauma deck. So the Trauma deck is basically, it reminds me of Nemesis. If you run into a situation where you're overly stressed or overly hurt, you have to draw one of these Trauma deck cards, and it negatively affects you. And then, of course, because it's Game Trayz, it has Game Trayz's logo printed on the tray itself. The 4 boards that are next are the player boards. These are very nice player boards. They are dual layered, so you've got all the little notches here for your hull, your shields, your stress levels, a pilot. You actually put your pilot in the little circle thing. Your ship, you actually put the ship in the hex thing. If you have status effects, those are in little dips as well, so you can easily put your cubes. A couple of engine upgrade cards, weapon upgrade cards, a couple of tech cards, ship ability, pilot ability, and all of them have little divots to put cubes in for. There's a system called supply in this game. Basically, when you're using one of those specialty weapons, you have to spend supply to do it, so you can mark exactly where it is. So these are very, very nice. There is only one issue that I've seen with this. There is a slight misprinting for the basic action here in that bottom left-hand corner. Basically, the action talks about how you can repair your ship, but they talk about how these symbols, if they're separated, you can do them each individually one at a time. These 3 symbols are separated, but they should be joined. You actually have to spend 3 dice in order to do the repair action. Other than that, though, the boards are extremely well put together. I love dual layers. It makes things so much easier. So those are those. Then we get to the card tray. I like this card tray because you can just basically pull the whole thing out and have the cards available to play the game. Just nice pop up here, maybe. There we go. So we've got things like more modifier decks. These allow you to make adjustments to your decks as you go along. So the symbols on these are relatively straightforward, but sometimes you just need a simple symbol on them. So, you know, you're not looking at cards that have a huge amount of artwork on it, but yeah, you don't need it. So you got 2 sets of modifier decks here. Some ship ability cards. These are a bit simplistic, but again, they are just designed to sort of lock in. I actually kind of like the way that the interface is on these, because it kind of is like, okay, it gives me that Star Trek vibe, that things are nice and clean and very, very simple to use. So, but they just sort of slot in on your player card. Pilot ability cards. I do like how it does actually have a print of the pilot ability on the back of the card. But again, on the front of the card, it's that very, very clean interface with the various symbols on them. Co-pilot ability cards. Again, very, very simple, very, very clean, which is a good thing. Tech. Part of this, the reason for the clean interface, of course, is, okay, let's take a look at this card here. You've got this big, huge card here that gives this maneuverability option. You need the whole card space in order to show what your options are. So having that filled with like some sort of background art or something along those lines probably wouldn't work too well. But and again, so there's engine cards. You've got weapon cards that show range of attacks and all that various stuff. The event deck. Events that happen. Basically, you read the card. These are very similar to the city and road cards in Gloomhaven. So, very straightforward on that. And then enemy combat cards. So these actually have, there's multiple trays worth, and what these are is, again, they kind of are the enemy's AI. Tells you what the enemy tries to do based off of the card. And basically you just follow the instructions on the bottom to try and make sure that the stuff is done to the best of the enemy's ability. And these are all the same enemy cards. They're just with the different enemy styles. Different enemies do different things. Speaking of the enemy cards, we have the actual enemy cards that show the artwork of the enemy, the basic, their starting values for hull, shield, their attack values, all that type of stuff. Now, there is 2 different sides to each card. The red ones are the standard enemies. The yellows are the elite enemies. Again, very similar to Gloomhaven. They just, based on what the scenario says, determines what ship that they are. I do like that the artwork is relatively straightforward, nice and colorful. There's some detail, but there isn't like ridiculous amounts that you're just looking at and you're going, okay, how in the world am I going to actually be able to paint this if I paint the miniature? These ones are more straightforward and saying, oh yeah, you can totally paint the miniature. So the various different classes of enemies, there's different styles of cards, different enemy classes. So, but pretty straightforward. Now the last cards to the left here, ones that say start here, these are actually planetary exploration cards, which is kind of where Etherfields or Tainted Grail comes in. So what you would do is you would flip over a card and it shows a art and it has, okay, when you land on this planet, it shows various symbols that are on there, and it says, okay, after you've explored this or done whatever number 33 is on here, then you would go and you would move the card next to here. And so the arrows line up, and it tells you kind of how the planet is explored. Now, I do like, again, the artwork style here. It is a bit cartoony compared to, some of the uber realistic artwork that's out there for some games. But, cartoony is not bad. I kind of like the cartoonish style. It's a little bit cleaner. So, and then there's another set of planets. This one's an ice planet. And so you can do your planetary explorations as well as space exploration, which is nice. Looks like a facility, stuff like that. So that is the card tray. Now, the only gripe that I have about it, and maybe this gripe is fixed a little bit later, but some of these cards, you know, as you're using them, they're not going to lie completely flat. And so some of these bays for these cards, they're barely tall enough to cover the cards as they are. One of the nice thing about Game Trayz is when they snap the lids on, they're supposed to be able to hold stuff pretty well, but I can see I've already seen some card drift in some of these bays as well. Now that might be mitigated as some of these cards end up being put into the player boxes for various reasons and stuff like that. But I personally would have probably made this tray just a little bit thicker to make sure that it actually fits everything that we need. But that's just my opinion on that. Most of the things that Game Trayz makes are utterly fantastic. So, and again, it snaps right there, so you can actually just take this whole tray and put it on the table, pop the lid, and you're ready to go. So we finally get to the bottom tray of the game. Obviously a game board. There is not much to it. I mean, you got the basic star field on one side. It is reversible, and it has a couple of nice planet graphics on the other side. I don't know if there is an actual gameplay difference between the two. We'll have to see how the scenarios line up. I did actually buy the extra neoprene playmat of this, so I won't be using this that often, but I keep it in the box to make sure if I take it to a game night that I still have the board available. So these are your pads for the pilots to measure their individual progress during the campaign. Various check marks give you upgraded pilot abilities. They're all very clean cut, straightforward. You can also write notes and stuff like that. And then you've got your squad pad, which gives you all the achievements and everything that you earn for playing the game. I know that certain achievements are required for unlocking certain missions, so you keep track of everything on here. The nice thing is that maybe you can look at a previous game's squad and be like, well, we got this achievement last time. Let's go for a different achievement so that maybe we can do other scenarios in the storyline. So just keep those. They're good. Combat trays. Basically, you keep your enemy cards in here. I really like these. I like that they're dual layered. I like that they have all of the notches for cubes to determine hull, shielding, and status effects. There's 8 of them, so you can have plenty of different enemies with different statuses. These are really, really nice. Upkeep, I believe, with these are going to be a lot easier than some other games that just have some cards and stuff. But basically, you would take the enemy tray, put the enemy card in, put their little action cards next to it, and then boom, there you go. You have your enemy ready to go. These bigger cards in the corner here, you have a couple of reference cards, always a good thing. Throw those around the table, make it nice and easy. And then you have your system cards. These system cards are just like the planetary cards that we looked at earlier. Basically, you have all the various different cards here, and you would explore your star systems. So you would flip it over, and it would have, okay, you know, this one connects to 1-2, this one connects to 2-1, and so you would line these cards up and you would continue exploring through the galaxy. It's very much a Tainted Grail vibe. The cards are even practically the exact same size. So you would take your Sparrow, which is this guy here. Nice detail. I like it. It's very utilitarian. Some of these ships are rather esoteric, so I like how the Sparrow, your quote-unquote main ship, actually looks like a carrier. It's got some good quality to it. But yeah, you've got 4 main systems: Adestria, Draconian, Trezian, and Veritas. And the nice thing about these cards and this type of exploration is, you know, if they decide to make Stars of Akarios 2 or an expansion or something along those lines, all you got to do is, you know, here's a set of cards and here's the new scenario book. You know, go with what you've got. You already got all the bits that you need to actually play the game. So expansions should actually be pretty straightforward. You know, looking forward to seeing if they do one, which would be good. Stars of Akarios scenario book. Nice, big, thick, spiral bound. That's a lot of missions. I have not actually looked through this. Let's take just a quick glance at the end. 142. So 142 references. Not all of them are missions. Some of them are just story reference beats and stuff like that. But if you've got your missions here, you see how the maps are set up. It's very, very straightforward. It tells you what you need, what pieces you need, everything that you would want to set up the mission, and then you set it up and you go. So definitely looking forward to seeing the story, but I've kept myself spoiler-free so far. But we'll dive into that when the gaming starts. Speaking about spoiler-free, so these ones down here are extra ships that are unlocked during the game. You also have your extra ship cards, and then your extra pilot cards hide underneath. So this is a little disappointment, a tiny little nitpick here, but I kind of wish that they had not have these out in the open. The way Gloomhaven works is it has everything in tuck boxes, keeping everything sealed away until you actually unlock it, which I think is fantastic. These, I mean, the ships are great. They look amazing. You know, kind of like it's continuing that slight cartoonish vibe that the rest of the stuff has had, but they are very unique and very, very interesting. I just wish that they had, they had like a sealed box section or something that they could have hidden some of these things away in. That's, again, I'm extremely nitpicking here. The rest of it looks amazing. I just kind of wish that these characters were hidden until they were unlocked. But what can you do? You put them in the bottom of the box. So we also have the tiles that you would put up on the map to set up the map. You got a couple of large ones. These are the only ones that I was a little bit, everything else in here, you see in here, everything's got a nice solid tray set. And then you got these, which kind of don't fit exactly. I got them in a place where they do fit, but they don't have a solid spot for them, which is slightly disappointing, but whatever. All the other bits nicely slot in there. You've got your planets, you've got your asteroids, you've got your nebula, you got your wormholes. Everything fits nice and solid. So points for that on Game Trayz. Just, why wasn't there a very specific slot for the big pieces? Whatever. The little hexes down here, I talked about this with the pilot stuff. So you've got your little hex pieces that show your character. And then you also have, if I could get it out. Well, I packed these in really well, didn't I? Your hexes giving the number and then the color, whether it's an elite unit or not. You would put these on the bases of the units. If you have the expansion, which I do, and we'll look at that. But for right now, let's take a look at what's actually in the core box. And the last thing is the enemy standees. So the enemy standees, you have these hexes. They are black and yellow. I kind of wish the black ones were red so that they matched what the cards were. But the standees do have the embossed arrows showing the front direction for the various ships. That's nice. And then you have the cardboard ships themselves. They're nice and colorful. They all have their numbers attached to them. So you can just put this in one of the standee holders and put that on your board. And they have exactly what they need. Again, not to say that it's copying Gloomhaven, but the setup for that is very similar to Gloomhaven. There's a reason why this was considered to be Gloomhaven in space. So again, that is the core box, and I've already alluded to it. We're going to open up the Ships of Akarios, which is all of the enemy ships as miniatures instead of the standees, because I'm a miniature junkie. But you have everything that you need to play in this core box. It's nice, it's solid. I think that this game looks amazing, and I am so looking forward to being able to put it on the table. I also bought the Ships of Akarios expansion. This basically takes all of the standees of the enemies and makes them into actual miniatures. So let's take a peek inside here. So, again, a nice tray set. I don't know if Game Trayz made this one, particular one or not. It doesn't have the classic clicking in that it does, but it's pretty straightforward. So you have your various miniatures for the different ships. Probably going to have to slap some paint on these in order to make them more individualized and experienced. I do like how some of these larger ships, they did try to make some scale to them. So that's a very nice big ship. The detail on these are pretty good. I've seen better miniatures, but you know, these are definitely serviceable, and they fit the art style. There are, you know, there's some detail on them, but they're not super detailed, but they match what the art was, so that's good. So you got the one tray, then you got the second tray. I do like how some of these are big. I like big minis. So that guy actually looks like he's a monster. Maybe that's what he was designed to be. And then you got the big, I'm guessing this is the closest to a main enemy character, because this is what's on the cover of the box. It's pretty hefty. I don't know what they made this out of, but I don't know if it's resin or not, but it's a nice hefty mini. And then of course all the various stands. You've got the smaller stands for most of the ships, and then the large stands for the big ones. And yeah, that's pretty much it that's in this miniatures box. It's just minis for all the enemy ships. So that was what was inside the box for Stars of Akarios. Definitely an interesting looking one. Very much interested in the campaign stuff. I love space theme. This is definitely going to be one that gets played. Just got to get it to the table. Hopefully I'll do that soon, and I'll be able to punch out a few missions, maybe get a review going on the channel very soon. In the meanwhile, thank you very much for watching. Very much appreciated. If you have suggestions for the channel, please leave comments or contact me directly. I'd very much appreciate your feedback. Once again, this has been Know Your Role. My name is Bevan, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you. Bye. Thanks again for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts by commenting below. If you liked what you saw and would like to see more, I'd appreciate the gesture of giving me a like and a subscribe. If you have suggestions for future videos, please let me know. And again, thanks for watching. May your table always be graced with a game, and always remember to know your role.